Tears are rolling down the face of this ballpoint pen, boldly crying out for God's amends, as teardrops escape through the passion of ink with love, but not with hate, as it bursts into an emotional debate, as it relates to the time of confusion, but soon, suddenly, soon soothed by the sensational thought of comfort, as it shares the face, the cheeks, the nose, rolling down the nose, the mouth, the lips, the chin, as thoughts overflows within, crying and shouting out through the pains of a pen, and with the blowing of the nose, God's words is the tissue, washing away the unclean snot, and my issues will soon, suddenly, soon be forgot. As I will cry and write and cry and write and write and cry non-stop, into anger and frustration drip from the eye of his coping tool, into love for God is spoken from the lips of this once rebellious fool, heartbroken, but within the grips of my hand, I will cry out through this unspoken vessel and begin to heal, cause I once wrestled with hateful thoughts that didn't uplift, promote, and or build the well-being of my poetic soul. So I'ma cry and write and cry and write and write and cry until this paper is soaked in rhythms. I'ma cry and write and cry and write and write and cry until I done coughed up words of wisdom. I'ma cry and write and write and cry until my words begin to heal, hold, and hug. I'ma cry and write and write and cry until my words begin to show love. I'ma cry and write and cry and write and write and cry until I see a better tomorrow. Until God wipe away my pains, my sorrows with his power, cause he has given me the gift to pray. I'ma cry and write and cry and write and write and cry for the ancestors of yesterday. I'ma cry and wipe the hate from my face. Depression will no longer cleanse my cheeks. I'ma cry and write and cry and write and write and cry until God has done away with my sorrow, my pity, my grief. My face will no longer be frowned. My pen will cry out for the color black with many shades of brown. I'ma cry and write and write and cry until I done found a newfound faith in God. I'ma cry and write and write and cry until my words jump up and down for joy, until letters are in unity with rhythm, with love, until our thoughts get better and better, until vow greet each other with a hug, until constant see the beauty in his sisters, his brothers, until sentences are constructed in harmony without fragment, discord, mistreatment, and or unjustly punctuated, as a pen will write a world of peace created by the thesis that we expand upon complex of sentences, until the world reflects the light of the pen, until syllables soon suddenly see the uprising within its souls. No ifs, no ands, no buts, no buts, who's God chosen people, as a pen will become the prophet chosen staff. I'ma cry and write and cry and write and write and cry until God has turned sentences into paragraphs, building chapter after chapter. I'ma cry and write and cry and write and write and cry until my pen cries out for joy and laughter, for the acknowledgement of the ancestors and the hereafter, because all our struggles truly did matter, and to peace and interchange with the simplicity of like-minded brains with words that it came to set us free from not only our sins, but the worldly pain and confusion. The function of our brain works in conjunction with verbs breathing life into a world livened up by God's satisfaction, because what's in store for a people is more than a simile, analogy, and metaphor. I'ma cry and write and cry and write and write and cry until rightful thoughts keep us in suspense. A place, a home, a people, a thing, a noun, a pronoun. I'ma cry and write and cry and write and write and cry until I can't put down the words, building into a beautiful book. I'ma cry and write and cry and write and write and cry until God has given the whole world a new outlook. I'ma cry and write and cry and write and write and cry until my words are no longer misspelled. I'ma cry and write and cry and write and write and cry to God, deliver his people from up out of hell. I'ma cry and write and cry and write and write and cry to God, deliver us from the hands of the infidel. I'ma cry and write and cry and write and write and cry into my pen, write away evil. I'ma cry and write and cry and write and write and cry until the whole world is fair, just, and equal. I'ma cry and write and cry and write and write and cry until this paper is soaked in rhythms. I'ma cry and write and cry and write and write and cry until I done coughed up words of wisdom. All praises, all honor, all glory be and due to the Most High God.